Do it. Let's see. We're live. We are live. I feel like the dude in the UFC or whatever. I better not say that. I better not say that too much. I'm gonna get a bill in the mail. We
Right,
are live, and then the bill's gonna come in for 1.2
right.
million dollars. I'll be working till I'm 90. That'll be no good. But hey, man, if you don't know him, you're gonna know him now. It's Coach Eric Floyd. He's from the southwest of our country, but he's been coaching all over, traveling. He does these great 24-hour lock-in camps, which are on fire. He's starting to really build a name for himself. 27 years in the military vet. I mean, just look at him. He can eat you for lunch. And we got him on today. And wait till he tells you about these 24-hour lock-ins. You are going to want to go. I already want to send my kid, but Coach Eric Floyd, what's up, man? I love the shirt, Purpose, bringing it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I did wear it on purpose because we do. I do have a purpose. You have a purpose, and the delivery of that, will make an impact on everybody. Even if it's one person, it's valuable. So, but yeah, thanks for having me. Got a little bit of the monsoons coming in today, so it's a little bit humid like it is there in Florida. So.
Oh yeah, man! But you look like you're in a great little park there and chilling, relaxing. First off, I know that you make a living on doing clinics, doing camps, traveling the country. I know you've been able to do that again the last month or so. But prior to that, how was your life affected through all this?
So you're talking about the lock-ins themselves?
Yeah, or your camps, your clinics, just your life. I mean,
So,
have you been kind of locked up through all this?
no, actually, that's what's pretty interesting. I thought about it, over the last 24 hours, and what would I say? How did this come about? And the thing that's pretty interesting is these camps. I got this from Cliff Fretwell, Lee Roper, and Mike Malm. He's the OG of this stuff, and I've been fortunate to experience that 8 years ago, and it resonated with me, and I've been able to take that and plug and play, if you will, and
Nice.
adjust, right, and but up until recently, it hasn't been open to the public. It's only been for the high schools that I'm associated with, or the wrestling clubs that I've associated with. But with COVID and having to, individuals training in small groups, things of that nature, it's created opportunities, or I wanted to create opportunities for people to continue to train. And I'm telling it honestly, my birthday was on June 14th, and that was the first, I'm going to say, one that was open to the public, and it just took off wildfire. Yeah.
Is that the because I see you've done a couple now with those crazy cats, Kraus and more.
So I did, right. So I haven't done one with Kraus yet.
Is that the one coming up?
Yes, sir. That one's going to be in Michigan, and up at Revolution Wrestling Club, and that is going to be pretty interesting, to say the least. So, and the reason why I'm going to say that is, the way that it's evolved from where Mike Moore was doing it, or Mike Mall, sorry, correction. Is they were doing workouts every hour on the hour, and they were doing probably about 5 7-minute matches, right, during the 24 hours, which is it's just a smoker. It kicks your ass. But how could I utilize that 24 hours more efficiently? And like I said, that's kind of where it started, and then I started having a clinician come out. Hey, I need you for however many hours, and then I'll implement my piece to it, and then continue for the rest of the 24 hours with the workouts every hour as well. And it was very hard when I was in Colorado with Mike Moore, I actually had to pull the reins on him. Like, yeah, for real. And that I'm already anticipating with Kraus. Like, I'm like, man, how am I gonna like have this guy chill? Because there is no chill.
Yeah, I had one of your buddies, Jeff Estrada, on, and he said to me, "Man, I want to do a 24-hour with Kraus. I want to see who lasts longer, me or Kraus." Can you imagine if you were doing one of these 24-hour camps and you had Mindset Mike, Jeff Estrada, and Coach Kraus all in this? Would the kids survive?
Holy smokes. So there's a lot of training aspects that come into it. And if it was like unleashed, no. I mean, no. There's a lot of physical things that come into play. A lot of concerns with physical things that will, like, I'm not going to say paralyze you, but like rhabdo, and I can't even think the full name of it, but like basically you go into training overload. And you and I talked briefly about David Goggins and some of the stuff that he's gone through, to what it does to your body. My job as a coach when I'm doing them is to break you, but also to get you through the 24 hours. So once I get you through get you to that barrier, break through that barrier, and continue on. So like I said, when I was doing that with Mike Moore up in Colorado, I had to pull him off to the side. I was like, look, if we keep going like this, like, these kids are going to start dropping like flies.
They're not coming back.
No.
That's is it like the what do they, like in the military, they put you through like that crucible where you go through the hell phase at the end, and they try to break you and then bring you back up. Correct.
And even when you break it down even more than that, literally every hour that you have as a coach or as a clinician that's there, you have the ability to create, I'm going to say, an opportunity to create something to where, hey, what are we going to achieve this hour? So each time, when that alarm goes off, some of these kids, it's like Pavlov's dog. That's like, oh crap, here we go again. But when you start implementing mindset into it, and hey, it's just, another step, another workout, hey, get through it. And you start working on some of the principles that mindset has, and you really get to put it together all in one. So it gets a little scary at times, because I don't want to have someone go through it and they're like, no, either they hate their parents for sending them, they hate their coaches for sending them, or they hate wrestling, and I've actually had to turn away some kids that I'm like, hey, I don't think you're ready for this yet. But just like with training, I think you had Coach Myers on just a couple of days ago. Yes, and so application, like how are you loading, deloading, are you using a conjugate method, all these different things. But like once you start getting into the season, there's different focuses, and that's how this can be applied. It's endless. It really, really is. It's endless. I've done competition camps where it's not a competition per se, but it's prepping them for competition. So I'll have individuals come in and talk about, hey, what do you do to prepare for tournaments? What do you do to prepare for matches or post? What are you eating? How much are you eating? When are you drinking? What do you, all of these different things. You're on the backside of the bracket. Well, what does that mean? So you can put all these different applications in there to prep, like say, for instance, coming up, that one in Michigan, that's going to be I'm going to use it as a big, preseason nationals, Super 32 prep, so for me, the focus to, relay to them is going to be for those tournaments coming up. In the summertime, I do a hell camp or a hammer camp, and it's no joke. I would not recommend that for anybody under middle school.
Is that what is it? The J Rock camps? Is that the ones that people talk, or the job? What's the camp that people speak very highly?
It is. It's the 28-day J Rob camp,
and they get a shirt at the end if they make it. But I'm going to send my kid 1 year. I hope, God willing, everything, and I'd like to send him 1 year. But it was interesting because I heard, and it's nice to hear you say that in a smaller. You're doing 24 hours, not 24 days or whatever, but you're still focused on. Like I heard that if they don't eat the way he tells them to eat and take in the proper calories, that's a strike. If they don't do their walking or do their running or do their pushes, that's a strike. And so Correct. It's really not only is you're not there just to wrestle, you're there to learn life. It seems like you're doing the same thing, but in kind of a crash course.
Correct. And I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for this, but I'm going to relay what I've heard other people say. They compare it to a 28-day in 24 hours. There's accountability. I tell them as soon as they get in, I have a briefing for them. It's very military driven. Like if some of the individuals look at the schedule I send, it's in a military format, very similar to an op order. But how this facility is right now is how it will be every hour. So every piece of trash that I find, those are burpees before you start your next session. But they learn really quick. So yeah, it is learning these life lessons. And then including with that is, how can other individuals help you out, because I will never claim that I'm a high level coach. There's other individuals that are just beyond with technique, performance, all these different things. Just like the individuals you're having come on, it's for a reason. So it can't at the camps or the lock-ins, relying on other individuals to help you get through that 24 hours. Whether it's taking the trash out, mopping the mats, currently, sanitizing the room. You have some older guys, you put them in leadership positions. I need you to make sure these guys are, washing their hands or taking showers or, areas where we do have food, we're not contaminating that stuff. So there's a lot of, just like you were saying, a lot of life lessons within that 28 days. But yeah, I tell you, there's a lot of life lessons in that 24 hours.
That's crazy. And, tell us, Coach, obviously Mike Mall, you talked about Mike Mall starting this, but so I'm guessing you wrestled in high school and then went off to the military.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your background and then how you managed to kind of take over this from Mike Mall.
So I actually got into wrestling here in Arizona in junior high. And, I thought about this too. But, when I went to my first practice, there's guys that had been wrestling for a couple of years and they're like, oh, you're pretty tough. And I was like, oh, right on, and then wrestled in high school. So here's, I'm going to give you a little bit more of probably some, I'm going to say probably failure type stuff and learning from my failures. So through high school, nothing's, placing at tournaments, but, and then joined the military. Once I got to Germany, I deployed there, wrestled there in it's called USERA. So it's a European, not going to say circuit, but just the open wrestling tournaments. And did that, for a couple years. And like I said, I was just there to compete and have fun, and enjoy wrestling. And then when I got back to the States, my wrestling, it tapered off. And that's kind of where MMA, jiu-jitsu kind of came into play. And then when I was in Ranger Regiment, Gracie's came, and they were, what kind of the initial Modern Army Combatives program is, or MACP, which a lot of people be familiar with, started. So, here I was not wanting to go to my back. I'm getting choked out.
But I don't think people know. I didn't know. People hear this guy Eric Floyd does these camps, but they don't know that you were a Ranger. You were in the Army. It wasn't like you just woke up one morning and said, I can teach people to fight. I mean, you got a badass background, well respected in military combat, Ranger Regiment. And how did that help you transition to becoming this high level coach?
Well, I wouldn't consider myself a high level coach. I wouldn't.
Okay. A coach.
Yes, sir. A coach. So, there's two different things, when I actually started coaching wrestling again, people had asked me, like my athletes would ask me, well, how does this compare your workouts? How does this compare to, to the military or being a Ranger? It was like, well, there's two things. One, right now I've only got you for like an hour or 2 hours. In the military, I've got you for 24 hours. So, what, we're going to, road march, throw on a rucksack from here to there. We're going to go do this. And it's a continual thing. The other thing is we kind of that mindset of things to where if you were to go out and if you were to go out and wrestle somebody right now, what's the outcome?
Oh, I've never wrestled in my life, so
hypothetically, you go out and you wrestle. Go out and wrestle right now. You're not gonna die, right?
No, I'm not gonna die, but I'm gonna get my ass kicked.
But you're not gonna die,
Right,
So,
right.
But
I see what you're saying. If you screw up with your platoon, your battalion, your Ranger regiment, people die.
It's pretty much anywhere. Yeah, I mean, you're literally talking about training people in a life or death situation, and if you're not teaching them, coaching them, mentoring them, they're gonna die. Other people are gonna die. I might die, and so talking about the silence. It's like then when you realize, hey, the seriousness of what you're doing impacts someone's life. Well, as a coach, like before the show, we were talking about it, and having mentors that have an impact on someone's life, it is going to affect them for the rest of their life. So it's parallel. Wanting them to have success, their successes are my successes. So
are you like the DI at the end of boot camp that's crying when you're pinning the thing on their shirt?
So some people might say I'm kind of cold-hearted or whatever, but also at the same time, no. Like there was a young man that went through a camp, and matter of fact, he was in Colorado, and I didn't think he was going to make it past 3-4 hours, and but he just kept going, and usually around 3 o'clock. So normally I start the camps at 9 o'clock in the morning, but usually right around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning is when you start seeing body language, people breaking, and that's where this young man did. He was breaking, and and then you have that heart to heart with him. All right, hey, you got here, and then on top of that, then you identify that individual to everybody else, right? And I did. I mean, there was some kids in this camp that were, I'm going to say, probably top 2 in the country right now. And I said, this young man that we didn't think that was going to make it beat you. He beat you to that point. So now he's got some self-worth. He's got pride of what he's done. But then I told him, I was like, you know what, this is where I got it. It's my job to get you to 9 o'clock, finish that 24 hours. And so I do these hammers as far as awards. And
that was my next question. I'm glad
was
you.
it?
That was my next
So,
question. Tell us about the hammers you give out.
Okay, so started back when I was at Fort Benning, and I would get them engraved and hand them to my soldiers or whatever when we PCS or at very significant times in the year. And a lot of people say, oh, that kid's a hammer, or that guy's a hammer, and they're talking about be the hammer, not the nail, right? Just destroying stuff. But when you really think about it, a hammer is used to shape steel, carve stone, drive wooden pegs and build things. So literally, like right now, I mean, you are a hammer at what you're doing right now. I mean, you're creating change, that which creates change. So I was doing those, and I was only making typically about 10% of what the camp was to hand out. And I would usually give it to other coaches or clinicians to hand out. Hey, give this to whoever you think that deserves this. And I usually give one to the lead clinician that's there, or a host, things of that nature.
This is your shirt. This is the 24-hour like I made it shirt. So like J-Rob gives the shirt, you give the hammer.
No, it's way beyond that. Like, you don't just get a shirt. Like, this is like, remember how we were talking about earlier, the 1%ers of the 1%ers. That's what that hammer is.
So this is more of everybody that finishes gets a shirt, but only the top few get a hammer.
Correct.
Nice.
And I've had guys go through 3, 4, 5 of my lock-ins that still haven't gotten one yet. And so earlier we were talking about special operations, and I told you I was going to talk about some of my failures. So I actually went through SF selection, made it all the way through, and I was a non-select. So correct. So where do you go from there? Control the controllable is what we hear about a lot today.
Those of you that don't know, that stands for Special Forces.
Yeah. So, but in that school, you do peer evaluations. So you'll have your team of 12, and you have to rate everyone, 1 through 12. And then you actually have to non-select someone, right? So like your whole team can make it through. You have to rate them, and you have to put one individual like, hey, this guy has to go. So instead of me handing out hammers, or the coaches or the clinicians handing out hammers, because you'll see favoritism come into play, or perception of favoritism come into play. I started sitting down with them individually, like, hey, over here off to the side in the wrestling room or wherever, and ask them how things are going. And I'll ask them, hey, who's your top 3 that should get a hammer? So I'll write it down, their names, or I have a roster, and I'll put little tick marks, and then I just add them up. And then whoever's got the highest number, they're the ones that get hammers. But I did have one, like an extra one. So, but that young man that made it through that I was talking about earlier, I gave one to him. So, because he did. He was doing like all the things right. I mean, this kid was just sucking, just hating life, but he was still, motivating his peers. There's times where you're counting repetitions, and you're like, come on, let's go. Come on, Ward, pick it up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly.
He must have been in tears when you gave him one.
Yeah, and you were asking me earlier, like, do I get in tears at the end? Like, that was emotional for me, because I saw what he is going through, self-doubt, but he continued to persevere and get to that point. So yeah, that was an emotional moment for me. But also being transparent with with your athletes that are going through there too, because just recently I stopped doing all of this stuff with them. So I used to do workout for workout with them. And, but I'm going to say as a coach, you know, if you're in there, you know, wrestling and technique and, you know, drilling with people, you can't run your room. So there's certain hours or certain workouts that I'll do with them. And, but for them to see me, you know, a grimace on my face or my body language, you know, or like when I'm done or throwing up, you know, like they're like, damn, this guy's for real. Like, you know, there's a sense of respect. Like, okay, this guy's not just, you know, having us do this because he says so. Like, you know, he's going through it with us. So, you know, doing that stuff with them and going through and breaking through those barriers, it is. I mean, it's pretty special.
It's funny, you know, Coach Gutcheck, I had him on. I think you asked me about him earlier, Coach Myers.
Yes.
And he said the same. He says, when I first got into the Ohio State room, when they offered to bring me there to start to train them.
Yes, sir.
He said the way I had to earn their respect was I just had to go workout for workout with them, day by day with them. And I had to do it with them for a certain amount of time until they finally realized, like, okay, this dude is
correct. And, you know, so I'll tell you a quick story. So, so a deck of cards, right? So there's workouts you can do with those. You flip it over, whatever the suit is, you know, say for instance, it's hearts, you know, all right. Hearts are push-ups, you know, diamonds are sit-ups, spades are squats, clubs are lunges, right? So whatever you flip over, those are the repetition. Like a 4 of spades would be 4 squats. And then, you know, the jokers, those 10 burpees, right? So I usually save that. That's one of the workouts that I have somewhere in that 24 hours. And it does replicate, like, okay, you can't control what card's coming next. Whatever you flip over, you do it. And right next, flip it over, execute next, flip it over, execute next. And there's some brothers here from Arizona. And I was running a camp in Roswell, New Mexico. And I had a stacked deck. So I had a bunch of jokers in there. So, you know, and they'll catch on. They're like, wait a minute, that's 3. That's 3 that we already did jokers. I'm like, and I'll laugh. And so they came to a recent one. So I had Mike Mall at a 4th of July lock-in. And they're like, hey, coach, we got a surprise for you. We got a gift. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, like, I appreciate it. And I noticed that they weren't giving it. They hadn't given it to me. But at the end of camp, they're like, hey, here you go, coach. And it was a brand new deck of cards. Well, it was all face cards. So basically that's like every time you flip a face card, it's 10. There's,
so,
you know,
so they just made a ton of enemies because everybody that goes through that card challenge.
Right.
You know, I think I remember, now that you mentioned it, I think I remember being at one of my son's practices, and I vaguely remember Coach Rose had a deck of cards. And I think I remember him doing something like that. And then when they hit like a joker or something, everybody had to call out what it was.
Right. Yeah, you need to do it. You know, that's like another thing that, like, so, you know, with that be what you just said, Coach Kraus, there's, you know, all these different I'm going to say high level coaches, right? Taking little pieces from what they do. And, you know, say for instance, you know, it was, you know, an ace of spades, right? So the group would call out or, you know, echo what it is. You know, and I'll say, I know we're inside, but I want to hear your outside voice. So, you know, them being able to project themselves, things like that. But kind of going back to that deck of cards, I was like, man, am I getting, like you said, they're going to create a lot of enemies. I was like, okay, but before I have them do this, I better figure out if it's doable. So it was so that was a Saturday or Sunday morning when I got that. And then that following Wednesday, broke it out and started doing it. And I text those boys. I was like, man, thanks for the gift, but don't worry, I'm gonna re-gift this. And but they went to that Colorado camp with me and broke that deck of cards out. So, but yeah, I mean, Coach Myers, like, going through and, battling in the trenches with them, they'll go farther with you or for you when you do that.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you about the lock-ins. Now, obviously there's no sleeping, there's no spending the nights because it's 24 hours. Now, do you mostly do them in gyms? Do you do them out in parks? Do you do them in campsites? Do you do them, is it just, how do you set them all up?
Correct. Again, with COVID, we've been limited legally to, where we can facilitate these. So yeah, I mean, it's been at different locations. Prior to that, I did it in armories. So National Guard armories. Yes, sir. And perfect place for it because it's typically a lot of room, outside. Because I'll have them shoveling, I'll have them, using sledgehammers, pushing cars, but then having, the mats set up inside the drill hall. Showers are available, and then on top of that, it puts them in an uncomfortable environment. Like them walking into an armory puts them into a fight or flight mode. Like, oh crap, like this is real, versus, being in a traditional gymnasium or something like that. So, but I want to touch on that. So, for a long time, for years, I was reaching out to Mike Mall, like, hey, I really appreciate, like, I don't want anybody to think I'm stealing this from you. But I would really love to have you come out and, do it because behind the dirt, run a technique session or for like 6 hours or whatever he would be available to. And I'm sure he has a ton of people reaching out to him, like wanting to do things or whatever. And he gave me an unrealistic location. I was like, just tell me where you want to do it and I'll make it happen. And but he gave me an unrealistic, what he thought was impossible location. So I'll give you an example. Like, hey, I want to do it at the Grand Canyon, or at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And I was like, man, and I was really, really trying to facilitate it. And COVID happened. And I was this close to making it happen. So he was available 4th of July, and I was trying to get him, Fretwell, and Roper to come out kind of for like an anniversary type, because that's the first one that I did with them back in 2012. Just like an appreciation, like, hey, I appreciate what you guys have done. I want you to kind of experience like kind of what it's evolved into. And so he came out and I was like, hey, I'm sorry it wasn't said location. He's like, well, somebody can dream. I'm still intending on making that location happen. It's just, how am I going to facilitate that? So
yeah, that's cool.
Like literally it might be like, hey, show up at, Sky Harbor International Airport in Phoenix. There's going to be a bus. There's going to be a bus waiting for you. Get on the bus and we're going to take you to location B.
When you show up for boot camp.
Yeah, correct. I mean, you don't really know. You have an idea where you're going, but you don't know your final destination. So I'm still, that's still in the works. But I have to have some people with a lot of faith that, hey, this is going to be legit. And I'm not sending my kid to some unknown, clandestine location. But I really think it'll be exciting. And the location that Mike Mall wanted will definitely be an epic event and location.
Yeah, so you all are going to be at the Arizona Cardinal Stadium. No. Hey, so Tanner Floyd, The old man is looking sharp. He really always does provide purpose and motivation to all the people he mentors. Uh, Anthony Chagola, Coach Floyd, making things happen. Love you, Coach. So a couple shout outs there for you. And so those guys that when you brought them back for the anniversary, have you given them hammers? Have they gotten hammers for you taking this and going to the next level with it?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Some like highly custom
Yeah.
custom hammers.
Cool. So one thing I wanted you to touch on before we get into my 10 questions is something that's obviously very dear to your heart. I see you doing it every day, every week. You have this 22 push-up contest
sir.
that I see you marketing and doing all the time. Tell us about it.
So with the 22 push-ups that you're talking about, it's a 22 push-up challenge, and it's to bring awareness to the veterans that are committing suicide daily. 22, and unfortunately, I've had some close friends that have I'm going to say come victim to it, and mental health is has that stigma of like, oh, I'm good, and it kind of outside looking in, they might see me as like, all right, we're working on mindset, mental toughness, suck it up, get past this, whereas this specifically, it's like, no, I mean, if you're in a situation where you need help, or someone that needs help, the resources are there, to get them help. So I do those to create awareness for that. And just recently, I had made a post on, right now, suicide is up 30% and this is general civilian population, due to, individuals with, depression, battling with depression. And, with being, isolation and, social distancing, the mental health aspect of, what our country or what our world is going through right now is very significant. So that's why I'm doing those push-ups. That's why I post those things. And honestly, if anybody ever needs to talk, or, needs some guidance, or hey, where do I go to get my friend help or whatever, don't hesitate to reach out to me if I know you or not. Literally 24/7, because that help and those resources are there and available all the time. So, but yes, that's what the 22 push-ups are for.
That's awesome, man. And Alfred Sands just said that's a great challenge. God bless our vets. So shout out there. All right. So I'm ready for my 10 questions. You ready?
All right, ready. Let's go.
All right. Okay. I tried to look into your hometown there. Short leash hot dog or Sonoma style hot dog?
It's Sonoran hot dog.
Sonoran. Yes. See, I screwed it up.
Yes, Sonoran.
Yeah. So we know which one he's going with. All right. Mindset or technical?
We talked about both.
All right. Chile enchiladas or fajitas?
Fajitas.
All right. Stand-up drill or sit-out drill?
Stand-up drill.
All right. If I screw this up, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Chilaquiles over easy or skillet pancakes?
I'm a foodie. I love food, and that's why I like to work out, because if I don't, I would be like 300 pounds. Both. I don't know.
Awesome. Okay. You got one day. You go live go or a 1 day IBT?
When? It's all about programming.
Saturday.
Saturday, live.
All right. Freddy's steak burger or a PB&J and bacon burger?
PB&J bacon burger.
Oh, it looked good. I was like, damn, I'm a
fight. Yeah.
My fat ass was like, woohoo! All right. I wrote this down and then I thought, isn't this the same thing? But what do I know? Hand fighting or wrist control?
Wow, yeah, that's actually a lot deeper question than people, what you might think. Hand fighting.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, I know you just want one answer, but yes, hand fighting.
no, you can keep going if you want.
No, that's like a huge thing because we talk about high crotches, double legs, low singles, outside singles, on and on and on. In order to get a successful, have a successful execution of that, it all starts with hand fighting. And outside people, I'm gonna because with hand fighting you need to move your guy, but I'm gonna include footwork. So I'm not even putting my hands on you, but I'm moving. My footwork is I consider that hand fighting. So yeah, that's a deep question.
Yeah. So I hear that if you want to get trained well in hand fighting, hit up Jeff Estrada.
Got you. I'll put him on. He'll be in the up and coming camps if he's down for that.
Love it. Ramen or pho?
Pho. That's a easy pho. Yes. Matter of fact, I think there's a restaurant right around here, really quick.
You're gonna go get some, right?
Yeah.
You know how many people have gotten off the show and texted me like that day and be like, "Damn you, I'm at the pizza joint. Damn you, I'm eating the fried chicken you told me about."
Right.
That's awesome. All right, this one I hear a lot. Drilling or tape study?
It depends on who is running the drilling, like the coach in there, because you might go through some tapes, you see something, some video, you're like, okay, I got that. You could go into your garage or literally on a football field, soccer field, and start drilling what you think is right, but you could be drilling it totally incorrect.
Maybe I should ask the question because it's the first time I put it down because I was talking to a young man, Sam Herring, who's got home mat advantage, and he talked.
Florida guy, right?
No, he's Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yes. But he's like he's 14 and he's just kicking ass in life, right? But he's a good
right
too. He's probably one of the top kids in the nation in his age group. But he said that his tape study has really been very important. So maybe I should ask, if you are a wrestler, what percentage of the time would you tell a wrestler study tape for practice?
10 to 20%. Yeah, 10 to 25%. Yeah, about 10 to 20%.
That's awesome. So in a perfect athlete, you would say there's got to be obviously the technique, practice, drilling, just the work, right? You got to put in the work, right? And then you would say you got to put in the mindset, right? And then get your mind right, get thoughts, process. I can do this. Correct. And then you would say study tape, right? So if it was if you had like a pizza, if you had 100% or a pizza pie, would you say 50% practice and then 25 mindset tape study, or how would you break that down to the perfect kind of?
So with
and also on the person.
Correct, because like as far as like tape study or when you're breaking down film, I'm going to correlate that to like football. When you're watching film for football, they're watching not a full game, but probably at least half of a game studying film. So when you're talking about time, that's a pretty big investment with time, where you could do that with wrestling. But if you're looking at a specific technique, like a technique breakdown, what might be 5, 7, 10 minutes. So that's what I'm saying, depending on like how in depth with the film study you're in. But drill. Cause I mean, you look at some youth wrestlers, their drilling looks like garbage, but it takes time to develop that, for Kraus say it, you're like, 4 or 5 years into wrestling before you're I'm going to say considered good or, or okay. So, I mean, it takes a long time of drilling. And on top of that, having a good drill partner to be, successful. So, percentage wise,
To do it.
50% drilling, you're talking about mindset, 25%.
And study.
I mean,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah,
and then film.
I had Coach Boskin on from Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
He's got those Tennessee camps, and he spoke about it the same way. He said, first we teach them the core skill, the core wrestling skills. Like, you can't start to learn how to do flips and back, all the crazy stuff that's done. Cool. And then the second one is I make him repeat it. So he does these 3-day camps over in Tennessee. You probably know about him. He's got a barn that somebody was nice enough to kind of loan him for his camps. And he says, they're stuck with me for 3 days. So if it's time to go to sleep and you haven't got it yet, we drilling. So
right. I mean, it's like, like with Curler, I mean, they have their foundation, their foundation system, so it's broken off of common positions, that foundation, if you will. And, they do. I mean, one of the ways that they market, their camps is, they have a camp that's drilled to death. They're getting like 2,000 reps on that same technique. But with chain wrestling off of that single technique, it's limitless. It's like, starting to play chess versus playing checkers. It's like, okay, point A, point B. No, like, I'm doing this because I want to get, over here, because I know you're going to do this, I'm going to do this. But it all starts with that initial foundation of, fundamental wrestling. So, but yeah, drilling, and then play wrestling. I mean, that's one thing I think a lot of people don't know how to do correctly, because a lot of wrestlers, they're just full throttle go-getters, but
I've got a 14 and 11-year-old, so if they're messing around, if Daniel hits the gas pedal on Zachary, it's trouble, right?
yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, they've got these bean bags that they'll sit in the living room, and they scare the shit out of mommy all the time, because all of a sudden she'll see one of them flying in the air and hitting the bean bag, and she's like, oh, you guys just stopped my heart. Come on, watch his head, because
brotherly love.
Yeah, that's my baby.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Character.
Well, hey, man, this has been awesome, man. And like I tell people, keep kicking ass in life, man. And you've already done that, man. You're just what you've given back to our life and our country, and what we have the right to do. Now you're just on free time, and you're giving back to the kids and the community. And so cool to get to meet people like you. And I don't know, it's just an honor, man. It's really cool. I hope one day I get to shake your hand and have my kid get to meet you and go through some practice with you. So
that'd be fantastic. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's an honor. And yeah, man. Tanner Floyd, bring the Ottoman.
No, we were wrestling one time. I caught the Ottoman in the head. Yeah.
Yeah, just super dope, man. Keep giving away them badass hammers, and I love it, man. I love what you're doing, and just thanks for coming on the show, man. Thanks for accepting this. And
all right. Well, thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's more what it's about. It's creating opportunities, and some people might say selfless service, or it's altruistic acts, but I enjoy it. I get a lot of pleasure and satisfaction in seeing individuals succeed and have success, whatever that measuring stick may be. But yeah, I mean, thanks again for the opportunity, and hopefully I'll be able to do that for a lot of other people.
Yeah, and hey, come on anytime, man. And I love it, man. We had so much fun.
All right, good deal. That's it.
I'm sure you're gonna go get some pho.
Yeah, maybe for lunch or dinner.
All right, brother. You take it easy, man. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thanks, sir.